The Patriots were trying to make a trade back into the first round, according to your reporting. Can you give us some intel on that?
Absolutely. So, Fred, let's see, Thursday night before the draft started, to just take you down to Gillette Stadium. I don't know how much you guys talked about it late last week, but they had this draft party. The Patriots did 1,900 tickets sold. The place was absolutely buzzing. The line to get in was snaking all the way, like the setup down there, and I'm like to the movie theater to get into the stadium. So there's this great energy there. And Gerard Mayo addresses the crowd before the draft, says, we're going to get a great player at 3 and stick around because we could always sneak back into the first round. And I'm thinking to myself, like, really? Like he just served that up to everyone. And so I start with that because they actually did try, based on what I understand. And so it's the end of the first round. The Bills had traded down to pick 32, and I was told the Patriots had an offer, to get it back into 32, and the Bills ended up taking an offer from the Panthers instead. And I think the intel there, Fred, is partially like if you're the Bills, you probably rather deal with a team outside your division. And the Bills and Panthers have a connection. The Panthers' new general manager, Dan Morgan, has a long-time connection with Brandon Beane, the Bills general manager. So that those were two factors working against the Patriots trying to get back into that 32 pick.
Okay, do you know who they might have been targeting there?
Why would they have done that?
So this is more like deduction than knowing for sure. I don't know the answer, but if the information is accurate, which I 100% believe it is, Xavier Legette, the receiver from South Carolina, went at 32, and then Keon Coleman, the receiver from Florida State, went at 33, and then the Patriots were picking at 34, and they traded back. And so my thought would be, if you're at 34 and you traded back, whoever you were going up for just went off the board.
Sure.
So, so I don't know. I mean, that would be the way I would piece it together. And that's, I would say, guys, like, that's very normal for the draft. Like, try to go up for someone, can't always get the trade, so you move to the next guy on your board.
All right. So they end up with Jaylen Polk, the receiver from Washington. I've heard him described a lot of different ways. Number one, that he's not going to be a number one, but also a lot of people immediately following up by saying, like, oh, he's a lot of fun. He's good after the catch. He's got good hands. Not expecting him to be a number one in this or any other offense, but how much fun do you think he's going to be? How much impact will he have?
So I think on him, Hardy, maybe why he was rated, I would say, a little differently depending on the team, because there maybe wasn't the speed factor was the biggest thing. I think when people say he won't be a number one, I think it's because he ran a 4.52 in the 40, and when you think about a number one receiver, you're looking for a standout physical trait or size that screams number one. And he doesn't have it, but what he does have is he's just like a really good player, and very physical, contested catches. So I think, and Field Yates, who to me, and one of my best friends at ESPN, just like a star on ABC during the draft, loves the kid. And so I can't sit here and tell you, like, I'm watching all these prospects and can evaluate them, but when someone like Field says he's one of my favorite players in the draft, I pass it along because that opinion means, I put a lot of credibility in that.
Patriots took care of a need with a drafting of a wide receiver. They got their quarterback, but I think the biggest problem as you look at the roster now, Mike, is left tackle. They sort of addressed it, but not really, and you went over it in your notes section.
So, John, we got Kaden Wallace of Penn State at pick 68, and he played all right tackle. And full disclosure, when I was going through the draft, before and trying to identify tackles that I thought fit the Patriots, I would have put him on there if he had played left tackle, and I didn't because of that. So I can't now say, oh, this, you know what I mean? I thought this would have happened.
You didn't have him identified as a left tackle because he's not a left tackle?
Because he played every snap at right tackle, is what
exactly.
you're saying. Yes.
But their view is that he would have played there if Penn State didn't have Olu Fashanu, a first-round pick, who was at left tackle. So we have to so we have to see if they're right. So they'll try Kaden Wallace there. They signed Chuks Okorafor, the veteran free agent from the Steelers, who, same situation, was more of a right tackle. I'm with you guys. We have a piece up at ESPN now where every reporter picks the biggest question that remains from the team they cover, and mine was, what's up at left tackle? And I wonder if they would even consider Micah Wenu out there. But I guess that wouldn't be out of the question if they get in a pinch. I don't think that's their intention right now, but something to maybe keep an eye on if it doesn't unfold the way they hope.
Is Juju SmithSchuster gone? Is this Jaylen Pouncey? Is Juju gone, do you think?
Well, let's go through it, Fred. I mean, I would think we talked earlier about the draft picks. The two rookies are going to be on there. So that's 2 receivers. Mm-hmm. You got Pop Douglas would be 3. You got KJ Osborne, who they signed in free agency, who I hear good things about, would be 4. And then I think you put Juju in the category with Tyquan Thornton. And I'm going to put Kendrick Bourne, obviously, in the other category, but with his injury, maybe gives a little bit of an unknown. To me, that Juju, Tyquan, those guys would be fighting for a spot, right? And so nothing given there.
Yeah, and this Jaylen Pouncey is not there aren't the question marks that there were with Tyquan Thornton. Like, Tyquan Thornton was like a blazer with no size, and it was a bit of a gamble. And then you saw a million receivers go after him. This Jaylen Pouncey, people aren't concerned. Like, he
weighs over 200 pounds.
Well, there also isn't a concern that there isn't as much of a concern as bust potential, I would imagine.
Well, so I don't want to say bust potential, Fred, but I will tell you, like, I talked to a team that didn't have him rated as highly. And that's, again, this is normal. Not everyone is going to have the same rating on every player. The concern that this team had was just like a little stiff in his route running and didn't consistently separate. And because of that, they say, yeah, we'll push him down a little bit. That doesn't mean he's not going to be a good player or that he can't develop that and, in the NFL. So I don't know. I guess I would look at that. I wouldn't say it's much different from Tyquan in that sense, because last year I remember talking to teams that thought, wow, we had Tyquan rated lower, but others liked him with the speed and thought he could develop. Maybe wouldn't have traded up for him in the second round, but didn't think it was too far off the target.
Overall, looking at this draft, it seems to me a radical departure of what we've been used to from Bill Belichick, who would go wildly off the board at any time, drafting kickers and punters. It just seemed like for his first time, Elliot Wolf chose to just stay put and not go for the home run, just consistently hit singles from top to bottom.
John, I think it's such a good point. And I was thinking about that when the punter from Iowa went off the board. I was like, oh, I'm living in a different world now. I don't think I have to worry about a special teams player getting drafted here. And there was one trade, right? We used to have so many more trades. So I think it was reflective of the new regime and that they went into this draft with a decisive plan. Like, we are deficient on offense. We're going to use 7 of our 8 picks on offense. Will it work out? We'll see. But I think from a big picture standpoint, the idea that they had a plan and they followed through with it, I think that to me stood out as sort of, okay, this is the way this new regime is going to go about it.
And just to circle back, because you did talk to people from other teams and things, what was the intel you got on Joe Milton? I'm just curious.
So Fred, when he got picked, I got one text from someone with like all capitals with exclamation marks and like as if to say like, your team just picked Joe Milton. Like it was like a surprise. You know, I don't think too many people saw it coming, but that was really the only intel on it.
Okay.
At that point in the draft.
Okay. I understand. It's not the third pick in the draft.
Mike,
I'm just curious to hear what
Fred,
people have to say about him.
Fred, it's interesting. I mean, so just like to peel back the curtain a little bit, when they picked him, you know, ESPN doesn't ask me to write a story on every pick, you know, for like a big story. But on this one, they did.
Yeah.
And if you went on our website, it was, you know, that was one of the main stories. So I think, to your point, Fred, like this was one that caught the attention of more than just New England. Like, oh, what are they doing up there?
Well, two reasons. One, obviously his arm, and two, I mean, he was a prize recruit for two huge programs. He was a prize recruit for Michigan that didn't pan out, and then he was a prize transfer to Tennessee, and you know, he played a year there at 23. So there you have it. All right, Mike Reiss, awesome, great job, fantastic. Everything you need to know, go no further than ESPN.com. Mike's got it all up there. It's all good stuff. He breaks down every pick, and he has some intel in terms of what the Patriots tried to do during the draft. Mike, awesome job. Thank you so much for joining us.
All right. Thanks, guys. Love being with you.
All right. Appreciate it, Mike. Thank you.
If you like that clip, and how could you not? Check out more videos from Toucher and Hardy here. Point slightly up and to the left. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. Point slightly down and to the left. And for the latest from the Sports Hub, download at 985thesportshub.com.